I was afraid of this all week. I said, this is a good enough team to beat us. I'm so proud of our kids to find a way. Offensively, they played lights out. Coach Floyd and his staff and the kids. I'll tell you, Brandon Berry did a great job. And how about Darian Wilson coming in the game, managing the last quarter and a half because of the selfish stupidity of our quarterback and, winning the game for us. When we don't have him on the roster, we don't win this game.
Welcome back. Clay Chalkville had one of their closest ball games they've had in the last couple of years, Scott, going on the road to Hillcrest of Tuscaloosa and escaping with a 41-40 victory.
It was a tough ball game. Clay Chalkville is on an 18-game winning streak. I think they've reached the point where mental is about as important as physical right now, and we've sensed Coach Jerry Hood trying to work on that mental aspect since this season started, reminding these guys they are not last year's team. It kind of came home to roost Friday night.
Well, the defense had a tough night, especially against the run. One running back, 447 yards on 29 carries, 4 touchdowns. He also caught another touchdown pass. It was a 6A record for rushing. Broke the record of Rock Thomas, who was running the ball at Auburn Saturday.
That's right.
So one of those things where they got to get some stuff worked out stopping the run.
Well, and if you have to pick any school in the state that's not going to give up that kind of rushing performance, it's going to be a Jerry Hood team. So it was very out of character for Clay Chalkville for that to happen. But you know what, Zach? Jerry Hood left Tuscaloosa with 2 very important things: a plate full of teachable and coachable moments and a victory.
Speaking of those coachable moments, they had some adversity in this game. Ty Pigram was ejected. The star quarterback for Clay Chalkville gets ejected when a Hillcrest player is trying to twist his leg over on the sideline. He didn't react very well to that, and he got tossed from the game. Starting running back Nick Battle left the game with a concussion. So they had they really had some adversity to get through.
Right, and they had another player, and we don't know who it was, that may have had some dehydration issues. So it was a tough night physically for Clay Chalkville. We had a reporter on site who said they were definitely twisting Pigram's leg when he went down. That's not okay with Coach Hood. He felt that Pigram lost his composure, and these things are going to happen in a ball game, and they're going to happen at every level. That kid's going to continue to play at another level after his Clay Chalkville days are over. So Coach Hood is right. He's got to control that emotion no matter what takes place.
Well, the good news for Clay is Darian Wilson came in, A.J. Walker came in, and they did a nice job filling in for those guys. Yeah. And Clay's offense, a lot of times it doesn't matter if your defense is having a bad night with this offense. Right. They can just outscore you.
Yeah. Well, it was needed last Friday night for sure. But I think we're going to see a different Clay Chalkville going forward because this is a wake-up call. Zach, you don't get a wake-up call like this without taking a loss quite often. So they were lucky to get away with a win in that game. I think this coaching staff is going to really use that game to improve this team, to get their attention. They may look back on Friday night in Tuscaloosa against Hillcrest as the launching pad for another great run.
And Hillcrest, just how close this game was, Hillcrest had a chance to tie the game, and they elect to go for 2 instead of kicking the extra point and get into overtime.
Right.
Getting into overtime with a backup against a team with a backup quarterback and a backup running back. Any thoughts on that decision?
Well, that's a head scratcher. They're at home. If you're going to go into overtime, you want to do it at home. But the coach there is very aggressive and determined that he was going to try to win it right then and right there. Now, in Hillcrest's defense, they had the momentum. They had just taken it in and scored. They had a pretty good run going. Emotionally, things were going their way. I understand his point. I'm not sure I'd have done it that way, but you know what? It's easy for us to sit back and armchair quarterback the following week.
That's right. I'm an optometrist. I can say whatever I want.
That's right. That's
Clay
right.
travels to take on Huffman next Friday night. A region game. Huffman lost 34-6 to Gardendale this week, so Clay maybe can get back into the right routine against Huffman.
I think it's a good opponent for Clay right now.
When we return, we'll have your weather forecast for Friday night, and we're going to talk about Pinson Valley as they took care of business against Woodlawn. We'll be back.